takes care of it. So you get rid of them.
Meeting is called to order. Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
We just came in the door.
Roll call.
Carr.
Here.
Miller. Here. Rancid. Here.
Approve the minutes from August 12th, 2019 and August 17th, 2019 meetings.
Make a motion to approve the minutes on the said dates.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from August 12th, 2019 and August 17th, 2019 meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carried. Public comment? Okay. Reports. Treasurer?
You're gonna do this in record time anyway, aren't you?
No. 10 items.
You're talking really fast. Okay, general fund, $190,561.02. Tax account, $2,582.93. LGIP general, $107,400.87. LGIP fire EMS, $2.69. Airport, $50,155.25. LGIP airport, 55 cents. Checks written, CenturyLink telephone, $133.42. We Energies town, $59.24. We Energies streetlights, $54 even. Badger Lane disposal, $8,752.20. Crack filling service for the crack filled roads, $22,000. And I do have a map of everything that he did if you'd like to see that. Jonathan Hooper Cemetery, $100. Bender Levi, Town Legal, $380.25. Jefferson County Highway Signs, $150.83. Larry Call salary, $369.40. Winona Brassett salary, meetings and mileage, $1,035.61. Peggy Miller September salary and paper, $615.95. Alan Schmidt August salary, September salary, $577.19.
Move to approve the treasurer's report. Second.
It's been moved to approve the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carried. Emergency management plan. Nothing. Fire department. No report. Airport?
No report.
Blue Spring Lake District.
Report, I think everything's over.
Is that right, Dick?
What's that?
Nothing special coming up on Blue Spring Lake. Have they started the goose hunt?
They started the goose hunt. Trapper and his sons got 13 geese in total, 3 of which were on Blue Spring Lake,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So does that conclude the goose hunt, or will they stay?
No, I think there's another week to go in the early season.
That was the beginning, you had your christening.
We had our christening party. There were 8 to 10 pontoon boats, some people on the shore. Eileen took about four tries to break her champagne-filled
I
balloon.
broke it on the
Oh, the
second
second
one.
try, okay. But it was a
Completely missed
good
the
time.
boat the first time.
So you opened a different bottle first?
Well, actually, it was a yellow balloon because
No, I meant you drank the other bottle first.
And they break easier when they're full.
first, I did that first. Yes.
Which is why she missed the boat.
I didn't miss the complete boat, just the railing.
Building inspector?
Building or permit applications, we've got one for Ed Dion for a deck and shed, standard process for single family residence. Eric Schreiby,
Standard process.
a sanitary permit, and for a storage shed. Crown Castle USA, which is the Dempsey Farms to remove 6 towers,
Silos?
antenna towers. They're gonna remove 6 and install 3 antenna.
Where, what's the location?
And that's it.
This is tax parcels, not this. They gotta be the ones on CI.
Yeah, it'd have to be. There's nothing on Hooper, there's nothing on,
No.
on there.
The only ones are 106 and CI that I know of. They're not gonna take the one down by Toller Road.
I don't think so.
That's it.
That's it.
Highway,
We got nothing to report, you guys, we'll wait to hear from you when you want to start cutting roads.
Okay, we have, last winter, sewer cover got hit on, can't remember the address, it's by that little red house.
That the one on Blue Spring Lake?
Yep,
Yeah.
does Ron know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought he repaired it.
I don't know, call it, do you have Greg Tolmeier's phone number?
No, but I can look it up.
I've got it here, I'll give it to you after the meeting.
Okay.
He's gone all week.
Okay, don't call him this week. But get a hold of him, and so you and Ron can, or Ron, and whatever, can meet with him and see what concerns he has with it.
Okay.
The way the roads are, I think we should put something on the September or October agenda to maybe change all town roads to Class B highways. I'll check with Al and see if we can do it legally. I think we can. Because there's getting to be a lot of truck traffic on these roads. We're spending a lot of money to fix them, and then you get big trucks on them, and they're not built for that.
Is there any routes that they can take without going through the town?
Well, if they're using them for shortcuts, there are. If they're delivering to a location on that road, then they can use them. They have to, like a concrete truck would have to, because there's no lightweight concrete trucks. But some of these quad axles, maybe they gotta use tandems or something.
Have you heard from Paul? He was gonna sit out on,
No, I haven't.
okay, he was gonna sit out on
Yep.
Little Prairie Road, whatever
Yep.
day that was,
Well,
Friday.
he was gonna go up, put in increased enforcement for 2 weeks, then let it go for a week, and then do it again for 2 weeks and see if we, the speed limit on Little Prairie Road is 45 miles an hour, and the average speed on Little Prairie Road is 55 miles an hour. So we're trying to do something to get it so the speed limit is lowered. If we fix that road next year, if we get the grant we want, you know what happens when you get a new road, you got a speedway. So that's something else we're gonna have to look at. I don't know how you get more enforcement.
Yeah, he was on his way out there himself. He said,
Right, but I don't know, right now he's pinpointing it,
Yeah, I know,
but once it's out of sight, out of mind,
I know.
I guess that's all I got.
correspondence?
We've got the 2019 Fall Town and Village Workshops. I don't know if anybody would be interested. MSA sent a copy of the comprehensive plan. If you want to see it.
I got one.
You got one?
Yeah.
And then we received a letter from the school board, the Mara School Board, and I received email today. It seems like there is going to be an election for the advisory referendum.
Do you understand what it is? It just says it concerns the dissolution, but it doesn't.
No, I don't.
I don't either.
as I understand it, it's just a vote, yes or no. Do you wanna keep the school district, yes or no? And then that would create another, we'd be able to put it on the board, or on the agenda for like in November again. That's the way I understand it. Or I mean, the next,
You need to pay the debt that they want? The
no,
loan?
it's basically to find out if it's giving the public a second chance to say, yes, we wanna keep the school district.
It's the re-vote on the
On the spending referendum?
operating
Budget.
referendum.
So the next
It's
regular
not-
election
it's
is
not-
in
It's not,
April.
from what I understand, it's not about money. It's about, do you want a school here or not?
But if we don't have the money, we
I understand
can't.
that.
Okay,
I'm just saying what I was told when I asked.
well, that's, I guess, where everybody's confused, it's like, yeah, I want a school here, but who's gonna pay for the repairs?
There you go.
That would be the next referendum. In other words, that would-
Okay.
what it basically, if everybody said, yeah, enough people said, yes, we wanna have it, then the next vote would be
That would
another
trigger
referendum.
another referendum.
Yeah,
In April.
and, yeah, with the next kind
Next
of.
voting cycle, which will be in April.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna close the school, don't they have, I thought they had to make their decision by January 15th.
I understand it too, so, this is a state you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If this vote goes through, it will be on November 5th, which is when we scheduled our budget hearing. So we will have to reschedule our budget hearing. So I don't know if you want to do that now, or if you want to, if the board members would like to send in suggestions on a preferred date.
Do we even have a choice on the preferred date? I doubt
Well,
it.
sure, we could.
We do for the budget hearing, but not for the referendum.
No.
Not for the referendum, no, but for the budget hearing,
Yeah.
we do have to change that date.
Right.
Because we can't have a meeting here and have an election.
If the election is here. Now, we don't know where the polling places are gonna be.
That's true.
either.
Right. Right.
So we gotta, you guys have to think of a date.
Well, why couldn't we do it the following Thursday,
Or
the
why,
7th?
yeah, or why couldn't we just have our budget hearing someplace else? Maybe Chris will let us in. We just have the budget hearing next door.
If you like it, yeah, if you want to.
And not
That's
do
up to you
that.
guys.
Just keep the same date.
Well, that would give us time to set it up a little bit. Get a table over there.
Mhm.
Because we also have to have a workshop that we did not set up.
We usually do that at the end of October.
So the budget hearing stays on the 5th? Is that agreeable to
I
everybody?
would think we won't change. Don't need to change it on the list.
At 7 o'clock. I might be a little bit late. I have an election to take care of.
Maybe.
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 And the workshop, do you want that during the day?
So we get a meeting.
I mean, on the day, not the same day. Towards the end of October?
Probably.
How about October 29th?
29th, you say?
Yeah,
Tuesday?
that's a week before the budget hearing.
Right?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday. Is Tuesday right?
I mean,
You want it in the afternoon?
I'd rather have it in the morning.
I would too. I just seem to
Well, I meant during the day.
Yeah, definitely.
What time, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
So, yeah, mine would be fine.
9 o'clock?
Would be up with them, Larry?
It'd be better at 11.
Budget workshop, October 29th at 9 o'clock. Budget hearing, November 5th at 7. That's all correspondence.
That's it?
Yes.
New business. Discussion and possible action for request by Ron and Denise Lovell to create 3 2-acre A3 building sites and a 12.4 acre natural resource zone from an existing agricultural transition zone of Tamarack Road, PIN number 024-0516-2711-002.
signatures here for you, first
Okay.
of all.
And then just pretty much explain what you're gonna be doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know what the process was.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert at
You
this.
get to
That's
talk, you get to
kinda cool.
talk now.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys got my, first one, you got all my.
We have all your
We have all the
stuff
And we have the
mapped.
revised map?
You do?
Yes.
Okay, and the revised as well. Yeah, so out on Tamarack Road here, we're looking to do, the county states that out of the 35 acres, we have the option to create 3 2-acre parcels, 4 and a 2 acre. We have 6 acres to work with that we could divide as long as it's no more than 6 acres. So our thought process was if my wife and I decide to ever stay around, if the kids come back home, to be an option for them to have a place to build a house, possibly. And we also left an extra road in here and everything too, just in case the rules and regulations of the county or the township or village would ever be able to annex that in or whatever. They could create another area on the back, 16.9 acres, to develop that as well. So, but for the initial purpose here is to just have the option to create those 3 2-acre lots. And we'd have driveways coming in off of Tamarack Road, pretty much all the way along there. So, and the first one would be next to this gentleman here, and that's in here and that stuff. And that's basically, it joins the village and the township, so it's attached right next to the village. So is that it? Any questions on that or anything?
I have some, I guess not questions, comments. Where right now we have 1 access, now we're gonna have 5 on Tamarack Road. If you look at your proposed accesses.
2. We have 1
we'd
axis
actually-
there,
We'd actually have 6.
2.
See where I mean?
3, 4, 5.
Well, come over there and show me.
There is one existing.
There's
There's
one
one
existing.
existing.
They're marked right here.
Yeah, there's 1 existing.
And
So if
then
you go
6
down the line,
proposed.
you've got 1, 2, 3, you're proposing 5 more and there's already 1.
4,
See,
5.
okay,
Where's
see,
the-
there's 1 that goes into this right now.
Yeah, that's,
That's an
which
existing
is,
one.
This exists already.
and that's not my property.
Okay, but you don't own that?
I do not own that.
Where's the property line on that?
It's, this here is the property line right on that right here.
Okay, so you don't own
I do not
this
own that
piece right
property,
here.
that is
Okay,
correct. That's a
separated out.
1.78 acres roughly,
Okay.
right there.
Okay, but we still end up with 6 accesses where in the past we've only had 1, is what I'm saying.
That is a possibility,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah, okay. The other, and I'm gonna be a curmudgeon here, I guess, but the other issue that I come up with is, all of a sudden, we're right next to the village, which does have sewer service. But we're talking about putting in a bunch more septics in an area that's very, very sandy. And this, everything just goes shoop, straight through the ground bars.
Okay.
So, have you considered annexing to the village at all?
I-
Especially with this first lot up here?
I consider that, I guess I just don't have the financial capability of being able to annex that in to provide sewer, water, electrical, road, curb, gutter. So it's more of a financial decision.
Okay.
I mean, if the village were to fund that for me, you know.
Have
I
you
would be
checked to
open
see what it
that.
would be? I'm thinking a well and a septic are pretty darn expensive too.
Well, typically $5,500 and septic's right around that as well.
Right.
So it's a $10,000-11,000.
Right.
That's
Would that be
your,
roughly a fair estimate?
that's where you're proposing to build your house, is that first?
Very possible, yes.
Okay, you're saying possible. Are you planning to split this off and then go to work building a house? Or is this something you're looking at for the future?
I'm looking at the future. I'm 57 years old. I need another 10 years of working, so maybe I'll work till 67. If my wife would decide to retire here, we'd have an option. It'd already be annexed, or not annexed in, but it would already be subdivided, so I'm looking in the future. It may or may not happen. No, I don't know.
So is it likely that you would get these splits and then you would just sell them?
It's a possibility, I'm not
Do you have a
necessarily
list
saying
of
that.
your neighbors, was there?
And there's emails in the back for Sean Geezy
Okay,
and
so you
my
pretty
neighbor
much,
Schultz.
pretty much have everybody.
I do. Danny Paulson signed it twice. He signed for the cemetery, because he's the president of the cemetery, and he signed it because he's my neighbor across the road.
Good.
Ask if anybody else has any questions.
Anybody else have questions? I think this gentleman here would like to say something about, he's my neighbor, or maybe you guys ask if there's any other
Yeah, that's,
objections or
Somebody else.
whatever.
Yeah, does anybody else, any object or for, or speak?
I don't object to anything, I just have a concern with the driveway on that first I'm the first house on the west side for that first property.
Okay.
And the driveway is basically going right on my property line, like there's zero setback. And I'm worried about the runoff and snow removal. The fence line on that side is post and wire, and I think a plow is just, snow removal will probably destroy it. And there's a change in elevation and grade, about 4 foot to my home.
could I have your name, please?
Joel Keckeisen,
Could you spell your last name?
Kdckeisen.
Thank you.
I just think it's worth a look. You know, I've never had standing water on my property, or spongy or oversaturation. And I just see all that headed towards my foundation.
Ron, where you've got this roadway in, and then you've got lot one, which is your,
Yes,
is your natural resource on it.
yes.
Okay. Can you move your driveway farther away from him?
We had taken a look at that. I could work with John Kennard on that. However, there's a 20-degree slope somewhere in that portion there.
Yeah.
So that's something that we'd have to do a study on. And we
And
kind of
you've
already
got an
did.
access going into the back, you've got one here, and then you've got another one down here. So you've got two accesses going
Correct.
back into that back part.
The thought process was there is if we, if the rules, regulations ever change or somebody ever did annex it into the city in the future, maybe I'll be dead and gone by then or anything, but at least I'd have an access in and they could do a loop or like a loop all the way around that area, the 16 acres in the back. And they could have houses back in that area. So I'm just kind of leaving that open so there'd be two accesses there instead of one. For emergency situations or anything like that with housing in the back. So I'm just trying to look at not just 5 or 10 years down the road, but maybe 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
How does the water run down there past your house now? That it would change the impact of it by putting a culvert under a driveway?
He's not thinking of that. He's
On my property?
Or,
He's thinking of when there's a driveway in.
I'm thinking, when there's a driveway going in, right there, I'm more concerned with runoff and snow removal,
Could be a surface
snow melting.
right next to his fence line.
okay, all right, I see.
And then the grade actually continues to rise going towards the back corner. That's just at the house, it's approximately 4 foot in elevation change. It continues to rise going further back.
And there's no way you can move your driveway?
My driveway is on the
No,
opposite
not
side.
yours,
Mine.
Ron's.
Ron's,
Move it to the, to the south, you put a berm in there?
he's gonna get off down in here and it's a natural resource on, so it's not happening because this is wet down there.
And it's a 20-degree slope.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could move that over 65 feet or around 80 feet, it's a
You
possibility.
could move it over to the other side and leave a berm in there.
What if it came in down here and came down like this?
Come here, Matt, Ron.
Yeah, come up here and look at the map with us.
We had a bigger map.
Well, we don't need a bigger map.
No, is there any way you could bring your driveway through here?
Right this way.
We had kind of looked at that, but I think this is all 20-degree slope. So they don't let me touch 20-degree slope.
Right, right.
However, you know, we could, where we have that, well, that's the, I got a little better picture of that, what you guys have there. This here is a John Kennard road. So we're moving this down here, we got 66 feet here. We're bringing this down here about 5 feet off of his lot line. However, we have to curve back in to the lot line right here because of this here 20-degree slope. This here is a big, huge pine tree that'll be removed. However, this here will be graded at a certain degree, that this here would all come down here, and this here is all 20% anyway. So this here would probably be sloped away from the property
If you
anyway.
remove that pine tree, can you come straight back?
We could probably shoot that straight back to
And
the
then
corner here.
And build a berm along here?
Yes, it's probably a possibility, a little bit of a one, but we can't come too far off.
Wouldn't have to be too big.
Just so
We could do that.
it stops the.
Yeah, I'll do whatever. Yeah, just so it won't slope back toward the property. Well, this here is all sloped, you know, to the right side of this over here. This here is all basically 20-degree coming down. I mean, that's a pretty steep slope.
Then see, it's, if I'm right, it's sloped back up this way, correct? So you're gonna
This
be up
here's coming up
higher.
the hill.
You're gonna be up higher than he is when you get back up here.
If I were to build here, I'd probably be at a higher elevation than
Right,
he's at.
right, so he's gonna get the roof runoff and everything going this
However,
way.
this here is all sloped down this way.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So this here is pretty much flat up here,
okay.
but this here is all
Then you're
sloped down
sloped
toward the
to
pond.
the
Yes,
pond.
and as you can see, that's why this is all wet, and this here is wet too, because it's all sloped back
Right,
down.
Right.
So I can possibly
Okay,
put a berm along here.
Would it be possible for you to work something out with your neighbor that the berm would cross the property line?
We could discuss that, if you'd allow that. I know he's got a big, huge pine tree right there too. You know what I mean?
I can tell you right now, I don't like this. For one thing, I don't want to ever see this developed if it's not annexed, because you're talking about septic systems all over in here. And we already
well,
have enough groundwater problems.
If it should ever come across that it could actually be annexed to the town, is what I'm
Well,
thinking.
it could if they were willing.
If
You
somebody
don't
had
just
to do it.
automatically get
No, I
annexed.
understand, I understand.
So what I
I'd
would
be more than
want,
glad to block that off. I mean, I could just zoom that
well, I
off.
think you should just make your lot line come over to here,
If that's,
so that you don't have all these driveways.
you know, I was just trying to think in the future of 15, 20 years down the road.
I understand that, and I am too.
And
I'm
you know what?
saying 15 or 20 years, I don't want
And-
to see septics back in there.
And this road here, this here, I mean, obviously, I'm not even gonna put that in until that day should ever happen, but I'll probably be 6 feet under by the time that happens.
Not if you sell it to somebody else, so
That's true too.
That's why if you just would grab this along here and eliminate it, put that as part of the natural and just avoid that as a,
I can avoid
he's
that.
got to keep down to 2 acres.
no,
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 this
add
will
it
go toward
to
this.
this,
Okay,
toward the natural.
natural resource zone, yeah.
And eliminate the driveway, then I'd leave the driveway back here, and that wouldn't be any different than Parkview Circle
Right,
is,
exactly.
where it's got one entrance in and then there's a loop.
Right.
Yeah, could be one entrance in.
I
If
would-
you don't want that,
I would be more inclined to like that and deal with the driveway as something that you're gonna have to work out with your neighbor to figure out some way to make it work.
yeah. Well, we
You
can
wouldn't
slow
need
that.
a very big berm there.
No.
So what do you want to do? Approve a condition on him getting an agreement with his neighbor? Because if you go ahead and approve it now,
Yeah,
then the neighbor's hanging in limbo. There is nothing.
well, first of all, we're not in a big hurry, are we?
No,
Okay, good,
I'm not bigger.
good.
Yeah, I don't have a problem approving a condition to deal with, neighbors' problems.
Well, you have to,
I'm writing his concerns on the form that goes to the county.
yeah. I don't think we can, I mean, it's not a conditional use permit, we can't
Yeah.
really approve it. We can say that we can tell him we would approve it if he could get this taken care of, and then he can come back and get this taken care of, and then we can approve it. That's basically how it works. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
I'm
Simple.
open, I'm in no hurry at all.
Okay, good.
So it's going to be tabled?
Yeah, we can table it, but it'll still come up at the county. I mean, we can write what we need at the county and tell them that we would like him to come back with these changes made. So.
Well, we have
and
to
that-
approve it for it to go to the county, though.
Okay.
Or disapprove it, we have to do one or the other.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
Table it, if we table it for a month,
He can come back next
and
month.
then have you come back next month.
And we'll just tell the county it's tabled so they won't schedule it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you wanted me to get rid of that access now?
Yes.
Yes. Get rid of that access and work out some agreement for a driveway.
Some
Okay.
agreement with your neighbor.
Fair enough. Have you
Yeah.
got this copy here, or the whole lines in it, yours does not?
Let's see, well, it does, but
Well,
you
it
can't
does,
see
but
them.
we can't see
them. Oh, okay.
You can't see them, yeah.
But we know what they are now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You're agreeable with that?
I am,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. Excellent.
So you're tabled again.
On table?
Yeah, you're tabled again.
And you
Do
don't
you have
have
a
to,
motion?
Motion to table?
Yeah. Move to
can
table.
I have this? You don't
Okay.
have to do this.
I second
Okay,
it.
thanks.
It's been moved and second to table this till next month.
All right.
Yeah, she made the motion. I second. All in favor?
I'll go work it out with my neighbor over at the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the squares and get it
Yeah,
fixed.
squiddies and all that.
It's been moved and seconded to table. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion's carried. Discussion, possible action to consider John and Michelle Maring to create a 90 by 90 A2 zone around the existing building at North 252 County Road H, pin number 024-0516-3342-001.
What we're proposing on doing, I'm John Marion, my wife Michelle. What we're proposing on doing is have a caretaker's residence in on the second floor of one of the existing buildings in exchange for the old house that's out by the road, that's right almost on top of the road. Take that down. The county said we can do that, but then we need to rezone an area just around the building to A2. And then the caretaker's quarters could be in there, and then we will remove the house. I have gone around to all the neighbors and had them sign it, and this is the map I printed off, everybody within a quarter mile, and the addresses, who it is. And, okay.
So you're proposing to get rid of the old house altogether and not rebuild nothing there? It's-
No house, because what we're gonna do is, the fire department has looked at it already, they're gonna use it as a testis, they'd like to use it as testis hall, but they're not gonna do anything until we get all of our paperwork done and everything. Because the county said, we can keep that house, we can keep the house, we can fix it up, we can do all of that stuff, even though you can't put a new one back there. But what they would allow, because we have one there, they would allow a caretaker's residence on the property, but in industrial, it's 18 acres of industrial, we have to rezone just the building that is happening.
So in other words, you're just swapping one building site for another.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's all we're doing.
yep.
We're gonna clean it up, get rid of it out by the street, and then have it on the second floor of one of the existing buildings, which is,
This is where you have the box or?
yes, exactly, that's it. Yep,
Right.
right.
Have they made any moves yet to get any other departments to help them burn it down? I know they were talking about it.
I talked to, I had James and a couple of the guys out there about 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay, that was probably before our last board meeting.
And, so he's kind of waiting for, everything. I said, you're not gonna wreck this building that I might have to fix if everything doesn't go through. So, Once they realize that, the county realizes it, the county's aware of this, you know, we spent some time in spring talking about this. So once, you know, if everything goes forward, the plan is to remove the house, burn it down, and then at some time when we're working on the existing buildings, because right now we're working on the new buildings on the site, then we're gonna start the restoration of the existing buildings, and at that time, we'll be set for having the caretaker's quarters in the second floor. And everything will follow, the building inspector will be on it, everything will follow the state approved plans and so on and so forth, as far as when it comes time for the building of the new. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve this.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve the creation of a 90 by 90 A2 zone around the existing building at North 252 County Road H. The aforementioned PIN number, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No. Motion carried. Discussion and possible action to consider John and Michelle Maring for a conditional use to allow for a residence.
I think it's gotta go hand in hand because this is, I mean, he pretty much covered everything when it comes to plumbing.
I'll read the
Okay.
for conditional use to allow for a residence in a proposed A2 zone to house a caretaker for the business at North 252 County Road H. PIN number 024-0516-3342-001.
I'll move to
Got it.
approve.
I've got a question about it. So we're talking, there's a conditional use permit to put a residence in an A2 zone, which
That's
is not a
correct.
residential zone.
Right.
So you need a conditional use permit. So is this going to be for one family, one person, or you're talking about a caretaker?
It's listed as, if you look at the A2 zoning, it's somebody that, a portion of their wages come from the
Come from,
business,
yeah.
so on and so forth,
Okay.
and that's when they said that it would have to fall under that.
Right.
So the plan is to have a dwelling that's not designed yet.
Right,
But it would have to meet everything that is within that ordinance,
sure.
you know.
Okay, so my question is it like a family residence? Is that
Yes.
what you had? Okay,
Yes.
that was my question.
Yes.
All right,
Have a motion?
I made a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve John and Michelle Maring for conditional use to allow for a residence in a proposed A2 zone to house a caretaker for the business at North 252 County Road H. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No. Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're free to go.
My favorite words.
Presentation from Railroad Tom Running Advisor about closing portion of Lowland Road.
Can I sit here? Is that good?
You can sit there.
Wherever you want.
All right. Again, my name is Tom Running. My company, RRX Consulting, does railroad safety investigations for various railroads. And I've been asked by the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad to look at Lowland Drive crossing of their tracks. And at this point, what I'm doing here is just a informational, introductory, what's the various participants that are going on, the various possibilities. So I'm here to say what might be in the works, okay? And I think the best thing to do is start out with the various players. Again, I'm independent consultant. The Railroad Wisconsin Southern is a subsidiary of Watco, a big national company that has a bunch of these short lines. So, but we call it Wisconsin Southern. We deal with Wisconsin Southern and the state of Wisconsin. They are in partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, DOT. DOT actually owns the land that the railroad owns and operates on top of. So what's going on is Wisconsin Southern and DOT are doing a major upgrade on this rail line coming right through here. They're going to be improving the track quality. What that also means then is that the train speeds are going up from 25 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour. And that, in the railroad business, is a huge increase in, what it's doing is it's reducing the reaction time for motorists. So it's sending a bunch of red flares by people who are doing this upgrade project. So anyway, they asked me to take a look at it. To cut to the chase, my investigation, I have a copy for the board members of my investigation report, is my recommendation is actually for that the railroad crossing on Lowland Drive should be closed. What that means is actually closing off a section of Lowland Drive itself. So that's my recommendation. Before that happens, an action has to be done. A couple of routes can be done. It can be a voluntary closure. You can vacate the road. The town board can vacate the road. And there are various options along that route. The other option is there's another player in this complex thing here, the Office of the Commissioner of Railroad. The OCR, the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads, is a independent regulatory agency that nobody hears about unless something comes up regarding a railroad. And if there's not a voluntary closure, then the OCR can do an investigation to one-sidedly close the crossing. So that's where we're at right now. Perhaps the best thing to do is I can answer some questions. I can go into some of the details of the mechanics of my concerns about the crossing itself, but it's a big investigation report. I can just hand it to you. That's what I'm here for. Answer questions, introduce the idea that something's going on. It is happening that the railroad crossing, that the railroad tracks are being upgraded and the speeds are going to be being increased dramatically. They're also most likely going to be doubling the number of trains themselves. So, like I say, there's from the railroad, the Wisconsin Southern, and the DOT, and also me, there's some real concerns coming up. We'd like to address the concerns before something really, really catastrophic happens there.
Okay, when is this going to happen?
Well, we're talking about state projects, but it's year and a half.
Our lifetime, right?
Well, it depends. It's about a year and a half, they're thinking.
So how long do we have to make our decisions, and who would we be dealing with to do that?
There is a person at the Wisconsin Southern Railroad. His name is Ken Lunt. I had asked him to come here also, but his scheduling didn't allow him to come. Ken Lunt is the liaison to the railroad. He does all of their contacts like this, and between you all and me, he's a really good guy to work with. I've had very good results working with Ken. So that'd be the first step, is for the board members to talk to Ken. They also have a good engineer guy who does a lot of the nuts and bolts of the stuff. They're very eager to proceed with getting a closure in one way or another, either voluntarily or through the state processes, OCR process. And I did have a brief meeting with Mr. Miller earlier about this. We discussed some of the possibilities on how we can proceed in these various routes that we can proceed. There are some incentives, some financial incentives that can be brought up through a voluntary closure.
Okay, what happens, I drive on a couple of the roads that cross the tracks between here and Whitewater. Okay, you have the same kind of bend on Watunsky Road. And there's a couple others farther down, and they're in Cold Spring. The tracks cross roads there, or the roads cross tracks, whatever. And we, as you and I talked, we should probably have arms on Marsh Road. Who pays for the arm for all that stuff?
Well, okay.
I know it's more than one question, but.
No, it's all right. The other crossings, I don't like those severe 90-degree turns for a bunch of reasons, just basically engineering reasons, and I think you can all kind of intuit what the problems would be with something like that, particularly if there are any large vehicles crossing there. They can get hung up, they can't see it all. So those 90-degree turns we were talking about, like at Lowland ones, they're inherently bad. I haven't been asked to look at those other ones, so I can't really, there can be other factors that come in.
Because you and I talked about farm equipment going back and forth, and on Lowland Road, it probably doesn't amount to a lot, right, Pete? Do you know?
What,
who
farm
owns
equipment?
Farm equipment, I mean, the
Yeah.
ownership though,
The ownership, no.
but the farm equipment still crosses, but that'd be a problem we'd have to deal with.
Well, you wouldn't be able to deal with it if they close the, if they close
Close
the
the
road.
road, that's
There,
right.
actually, there are possibilities that we can do on that. As Mr. Miller and I talked about, if, it's something that can be negotiated, a private crossing, a farm crossing, a private crossing. It can be worked out. It's a complicated moving part, but it's not an unsolvable problem.
Well, in my experience, nobody's ever been hit by a train on that